You had a big head. You had that East African forehead. Did you have that?
I don't know. It's like something about when he turns. No.
Swahili or?
Yeah, Swahili.
Makini wakwako matanda.
But like, you know, sometimes like this rage kind of builds inside you and you just feel like speaking your language because that's the only way you can express it.
Thank God I'm a virgin. I'm a virgin.
That's what they all say.
That's what they all say. Until you open it, say, what? You say you're a virgin? What is that?
Anyway, sit right because I'm like, okay, if this is embarrassing for you guys, and it is embarrassing to me as well, because I slept with someone's husband.
Hi guys, my name is Mario Obo, and I want to welcome you back to the Cornerstone Podcast. At the Cornerstone Podcast, we always talk about community events. We talk about the things that happen in our society. We share ideas such as marriages, family, finances, mortgages, like everything that affects our daily lives, you know. And most especially, we like to have people come on the Cornerstone Podcast to come and share their experience with us. Talk about the challenges that they faced, talk about their success stories, and most especially, we celebrate the winnings at the Cornerstone Podcast. So if you would like to share your story at the Cornerstone Podcast, please send us an email with the email address now showing on your screen. And don't forget to follow all our social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love to have that encouragement from you. So please, once you watch this video, share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much. But before we start the Cornerstone Podcast today, I would like to celebrate the one man that has, really worked so hard to put this thing together. I want to appreciate Mr. Claude. Thank you so much. I will place Mr. Claude's social media handles on the comment section, and please, if you want to follow him, he's an amazing young guy. He's a sound engineer and music producer, and also an entrepreneur. A great guy that you like to hang out with, for sure. And without wasting your time, I would like to introduce to you our lovely guest. She's pretty, she's young, and most especially, she has a great story that that I would encourage everyone to really listen to today. Most especially for children who you grew up with your parents being divorced, or you young children right now who are watching this and your parents are divorced. And this podcast promises to give you some insights about what you experience or what you will experience and how you can overcome that. So, Mrs. Tuse, I want to welcome you to today's podcast.
Hey.
Ms. Tuse is an author. Do I say you're single or dating? I don't know about that, but I'll say that
single.
She's single. Okay,
not ready to mingle.
She is single and not ready to mingle. Wow. Okay, so Ms. Tuse, welcome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Not long ago, talking about the podcast, and here you are today.
Yeah, here I am.
You're welcome.
I'm very honored. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Tuse, who are you? Let's get to meet you.
Well, I go by Tuse, but my full name is Tuse Kelege Imayongala. I'm 20 years of age. I am an author, upcoming author, also soon to be a solo artist, working on that as well. What I like to do, basically, music, biggest hobby, writing, follows next, which we'll talk about my book later on in the podcast.
Okay, that would be great.
Also, there are others that I could list them all, but time doesn't allow.
Awesome. So, Tuse, were you born in Australia or were you born back in Tanzania?
I was born in Australia.
Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. What part? Sydney or?
Sydney, and I lived in Strathfield North. From what I can remember.
Okay. So, have you ever been back home or?
I have been back home. Went back to Tanzania in 2010. Stayed there for approximately 10 years, we shall say. Yeah, it was quite an experience.
Oh, yeah.
Quite an experience. I mean, I would say my life in general is quite an experience, but yeah.
So, what was the experience like when you grew up in Africa? What was it like?
I mean, mixed feelings. I can't give a single word to describe how my experience was, but honestly, it's just all over the place. It was good. There was also bad times, but all I could say, I out of all of the experiences that I've been through, I can't say that I regret any of them, other than I appreciate what I've gone through, or else it wouldn't have shaped me into be the person that I am today. And yeah, we all go through something for a reason.
Yeah.
We just don't go through it like that. Yeah, and I believe it will keep on building me into be a stronger person and into doing things that are quite helpful to the community and to thyself.
You mentioned experiences like, and the way you were sounding like, were these negative experiences or were they positive experiences? What was it? What was the general experience like? Let's walk back to you, really going back to Tanzania.
Right.
How was it like growing up in Tanzania?
Growing up, at first, let's say from ages 5 to around 8, it was okay.
Okay.
I can't complain much. Looking back at it, there are events that I could literally just smile back at. Funny experiences any kid would go through. But from ages 10 to now, it's quite a rocky road. Though I can say now I'm proud of where I am.
Yeah.
It's a long journey, and honestly, I appreciate that I have a strong heart to get me to push through life. So hasn't been easy from ages 9. It was a lot of realizing whom to trust, whom not to trust, a lot of self, just knowing myself a bit more better, what to do in life or what not to do, whom to trust, whom not to trust, getting to see whom sometimes the real culprits are, betrayal, not only from people around but also to myself as well. But we grow from it, we learn, which I personally, I wouldn't want anyone below, well, between the ages, between a young age until now, I wouldn't want anyone to go through a hard time. It really breaks my heart, in which I am trying to also encourage my siblings as well, like, try your hardest to live the best life you can. Try build relationships with people now. Yeah, I mean, they just have to live their fullest. I just don't want them to I don't want to see them going through a rough path. Not only my family, but that applies to technically anyone. And it's easy for me to, like, I'd step out of my way, I'd drop everything to help anyone, which is selfish of myself. But I just can't help seeing someone in a hole, and I'm just
Do nothing about it.
exactly.
You mentioned something about trust, and I think you did twice. That means trust must have been a very big thing for you. Let's walk through that. What happened to you in terms of trust?
Well, this I will have to run you back to 2013, where I was 9. That's when my trust was broken.
When you were 9 years old.
I was 9, and this was from a teacher, not a teacher that I would say is someone that I trust, or whatever. A new teacher comes into class. I mean, I'm guessing you have kids.
Yeah.
You do, and you wouldn't want to hear from your kids that a teacher did 1, 2, 3 and I didn't like it. Your own daughter.
That would break my heart.
It would, and obviously you would find every which way to help them be on the safe side. But as for me, that's a little different. That happened, but also, like, on the other hand, I had a father who believed maybe that I was, whatever the circumstance was, sleeping or trying to sleep around with guys.
At a very young age.
Yeah, which I mean, yeah, there are circumstances which could have made him believe, but it's just a phase. But I wouldn't say I was intending to sleep with anyone, you know. I'm still young. I didn't have the mindset to do
You're
so.
innocent to know such.
I mean, apart from the environment that I came from and having to go live, yes, in the Western culture, we're exposed to a lot of things. And as we know, like, you know, it doesn't matter sex, LGBTQ communities, whatever. So, yeah, as kids, sometimes some kids would basically like you'd catch them watching illicit content, which, yes, happened to me, that I admit, but I wouldn't say I was ready to go and
Sleep with someone. Yeah,
no.
that's too young. So this teacher, let's walk with us. What really happened to you? Like,
I was in class and we had a new teacher come in. I can't remember what subjects he did mention because it was in grade 3. He came in and I remember I was seated on a bench. There was this girl called Aisha and someone accompanied her. Next to me was a guy called Ian, and then there was me. Like we sat on benches, so you were paired with someone, whether you like it or not. Live with it. So when Aisha was called up, I had to nudge my friend and just whispered beneath my breath, like, I hope I don't get called up there. But he decided to be like, oh, she wants to come up. Which the teacher did end up calling me up, and he was like, what's your name? I was nervous. I remember I was nervous and I didn't know how to act. And I was like, yeah, I'm Tuse. I was like, oh, Tuse. That's nice. He wanted to come up, and I'm like, no. I did not want to. In fact, I told my friend that I hope you don't call me up here, but apparently, well, he betrayed me, so clearly. And now I'm up here, and he was like, oh, no, don't worry, baby. And I'm like, oh, okay. Calling me baby, well, cool.
wow.
That kind of puzzled me a little bit. Then he was like, you're beautiful, you're pretty, and I'll favor everyone because you're my queen.
He said that to you.
Yeah, and the story goes on. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know how to act. But as time went by, this was in grade 3, nothing serious started happening. As time went on, I trusted him quite a bit. But there was just something about him that just didn't sit right. Everyone used to make jokes about him because of his head shape.
He had a big head. He had that East African forehead. Did you have that?
I don't know. It's like something about when he turns, like, because we use chalkboards. So every time he turns and writes on the chalkboard, everyone talks about the back of his head. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't see it, I don't have time to actually navigate whose head stays like whatever. I have a big head myself, so why should I? But yeah, I mean, at some point, that's when I started seeing that by favoring everyone, he means favoring the girls. At this point, he was teaching us science, and he would come in, give us our books, beat the boys vigorously, like beat them properly. And girls, it's like, even if you missed every single question from the exercise given, he wouldn't beat a single soul. And I decided to ask him, like, why? Why are you beating on the guys? And he's like, because of you.
Wow.
I feel like speaking my language, but anyways.
Say it, think.
No.
Swahili or?
Yeah, Swahili.
Makini wakwako matanda.
But sometimes this rage kind of builds inside you, and you just feel like speaking your language because that's the only way you can express it. Anyways, let me just try to keep my cool.
Please, for the sake of the audience,
For the sake of the audience,
They don't need
for the sake of myself.
Most don't know Swahili as well, like me.
I mean, Google Translate is there, so yeah. I mean, like it was weird. It was weird. So I didn't like that act at all. It made me uncomfortable. First day went, second day, third, and it was nah. It just didn't sit right with me, and I don't know how to deal with it because he's like, you're beautiful, but at that point I'm like, yeah, but I'm not the most beautiful girl. There are other girls in here who are beautiful to an extent where I feel insecure about myself. Now you're telling me that I'm beautiful, so I might as well ask God to unbeautify me. So that's it. We are equal. You have to cane everyone, but no. But also, in the midst of it all, in that same year, there was this girl who tried to get me to perform lesbianism with her.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old are you at the time?
I was still 9.
9.
And I don't know where she got this mentality.
Was she like a young kid as a student with?
We're all in the same class.
Was that boarding school or was that
It's
like
a
day
mix,
school?
a day and boarding school.
Okay.
I can't remember whether she was a day or a boarder, but I remember she went to the bar, to the lavatory once, and I also went to the lavatory. I had to use the lavatory, and she called me in. So it was like this. It was like built in an L shape, but where there's like a separate segment, and then here's a separate segment. So like every segment has its own privacy. So she called me to like the segment next to the dining hall. And she pulled me in, and I'm not gonna get graphic, but stuff. But I was like, nah, I can't do this. It was really uncomfortable.
Wow.
Which following, since at some point I was benched with her, and I felt a hand go into my skirt, and then I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this. I'm not comfortable. And she takes it out and she makes me smell it, and I'm like, are you for reals?
Wow. In Tanzania.
Yes.
You would think that doesn't happen back in Africa. That's why most parents take their kids back home because they want the kids to, grow up with the African mentality and culture. But these things are everywhere in the world.
Speaking of African parents taking our kids back home as punishment, we'll get also to that because I just want people.
Sometimes I wouldn't say punishment. I would say probably just to make them maybe learn life.
Yeah, but like most of them want their kids to see it as punishment. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So that happened, and with the teacher, unshamedly, I'm gonna say his name.
Yes, please.
Emmanuel Kinogo. I liked him because he shared the same name with my dad. My dad's, I don't know. Anyways, I'm not gonna. You guys figure that out. But yeah, I mean, he just made me uncomfortable to an extent where, yeah, he says he has a wife. I don't know. Like, there's something about Africans thinking it's everything to be with a white person or like anyone who's not of melanin color. They think it's, yeah, I got everything, but really not. And so there are these couple of boys who are really eager to be like, okay, we want to see a wife, and they're like, at lunchtime, you come see me in my office. I'll show you who my wife is. These boys come back after lunch being like, this teacher didn't show us his wife, but he showed us 2 pictures of naked women.
The teacher showed the boys that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, you guys are joking. And it's like, he did. Like, literally unclothed. We saw everything. In my head, I'm like, why would he do that? Fast forward, 2014, because this happened within those 2 years. I was 10. We opened school, I think, around January, if not early Feb. And he called me into class. He was like, put your bag down, come to me. So he pulls me onto his lap. And he holds me by the lower back. And he's like, with his hands gripping my waist, I remember. And he's like, I'm about to leave the school. I was so relieved because finally I wanted to be treated as an equal. I don't like seeing people being punished vigorously and then I'm just there left like that. Like, why do you have to go through pain? And then I'm also doing the same mistake, but you're not punishing me. For what? So I was like, okay, cool. In my head, I was like, finally. So when are you leaving? And he's like, soon. And I'm like, cool, soon. I wonder when that is. So he was there February, March, and things got strange. Always coming to class, calling me in front of the class, forcing hugs, forcing kisses on the cheek. One day he even made me peck him on the lips.
Wow.
I
And you were 9 years old at that time.
10.
10 at that time.
Yeah.
Did you report that to your dad? What he did?
Couldn't.
You couldn't. Okay. Why was that though?
At this time, I remember as I was asking, at home we usually have like houseboy, but you guys call them gate man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had that one, and he was 17 at that time, and he was going to an English medium school. So at least someone who could speak English with me and understood like the subjects that I'm taking. My auntie did not understand English, and I was still trying to form words better in Swahili. And my dad was a busy person, always in the office, and I don't want to disturb him during his work, so I'd ask him. And I remember I was in the trampoline, like the distance that we're sitting. Trampoline is here, and he's seated somewhere like that. And we're conversing, just having a debatable discussion just to get to the root of like solving the question itself. This was history. And my dad comes out and he's like, I need you inside. And he starts telling me about STIs, HIV, da 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 da. And I remember this like trending picture in Facebook, which this should be a lesson because not only is this like just in the physical world, but I'd also love to touch spiritually as well. Where as a woman, there's this picture of a woman who was like, the middle was split open and it was like all faces of the men that she slept with. So basically the message is you have to be careful who you sleep with. Every man you sleep with lives a part of himself with you. So, and that's not good. Because at some point, even in the spiritual world, because you could sleep with others and they could do some voodoo and all that stuff. And sometimes, this is also known in Tanzania. A beautiful lady, whatever, you've slept with different men. At some point, people can use that and then like kind of mask you somehow. So instead of people seeing you as the beautiful lady that you are, they're seeing you maybe as this person who's already tired, But
is that true voodoo or is that...
It's complicated. They don't see you as you. They see you as this thing, like a mask that has, like a form has taken on you. And you ask yourself, why this, why that, da 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 da. Sometimes you have to just look back and think, why we always encourage people to pray. And prayer doesn't necessarily mean that you have to speak in words, sit down, close your eyes and pray and chant and whatever. Prayer could also be you're walking, you're silent, taking that time nature talk inside, you're talking with God. Anytime, like everyone has their own way of praying. So my dad showed me that, and in my head I'm like, wow, so this is how he takes me. But at that point, he's already found out that I've already started actually watching some illicit videos as well. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't want to argue. I listened to my dad. I'm like, okay, fine. So that's also part of the reason why I couldn't tell him, because maybe he could see me like that.
Yeah.
And another event that happened apart from the teacher was I was in grade 6. I moved with my little sister to her school because I was already tired of that school. I've had enough, and because the more I was being hated and all that stuff, so I was like, yeah, I need to move. I'm tired of being beaten.
Yeah.
So I moved to the other school, and there was this very cute guy, uh, and he was the son to the owner of the school, so he was studying there. And I remember we had this trip to go to Arusha, and in the bus, this was like at about 8, 9-ish p.m. So he tried to kind of like touch me
The kid.
somehow. Yeah, it was really uncomfortable. Can't say that I consented to it. Like, I remember the feeling, like how I felt was like, I don't know. I couldn't scream. I couldn't yell. I wanted to tell someone, but I couldn't. It was like my heart was about to come out of my chest. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna mention your name, because he's matured.
So you were how old were you at that time when this happened?
How old was I in grade 6? I was 12.
So you were 12, and this guy was, how old was he?
I think roughly 13.
13-year-old, okay.
Yeah. Then I remember a classmate of mine also in grade 6. After I became a boarder, because grade 6 you had to be a boarder. Did the same thing during prep class at night, and at that time we were only 4 girls in class. So I was just studying, and he was like, don't scream, don't call for anyone, just keep quiet. But wherever his hand was going, I couldn't take it. So I had to scream out for my friend and ask her for a book, just so he can stop whatever he's doing. That passed, and then the next incident, I'm not going to mention all of them. The next incident happened. Let's talk about the one that really disappointed me the most. We'll just skip the minors. I'm new here to Melbourne, and I needed someone to show me around in the city. I'm not gonna mention his name either, because I feel he deserves to have a life with his family. And I trusted him. We've been friends for quite some time, so I was like, okay, I'm here. Is it okay if he can show me around the city, whatever? Because at some point I love to treat myself. And it's like, okay, cool. So he came and picked me up, and we went to the city, and showed me around. And the first place we went to was the Ferris wheel. I was like, okay, cool. So we were in the Ferris wheel, and this guy just hugs me, and I don't mind people hugging me, to be honest. So I just hugged him, and I was like, oh, it's good to see you, da da da. But as it went, this guy kept on like sniffing me, what's on, and he's like, and you know, I just felt uncomfortable instantly. I didn't even want to question. You know, like my body language will speak for itself. And he's like, you smell good. And I'm like, who wouldn't? I mean, as a lady, I always have to smell good, so why not? And then he keeps on sniffing and trying to kind of pick my neck, whatever. And it was getting uncomfortable. And I can't do anything because, like, it's a Ferris wheel. You go down, you go high up. So you scream for help. You guys are in a box.
At the top.
So me, I'm just counting time. I'm just like, let this be over. Let this be over. And finally we were done. And then he walked me down to next to Crown. And, you know, he wanted to hold hands. And I'm like, guy, no. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to give off a picture that I'm taking. You know? But I've always wanted to yank my hand off him, but it was like, if I did, then he would, you know. But anyways, I'm like, you owe me a drink. So he bought me a drink. So I got a cocktail and a shot, and he got himself an energy drink. So I finished it. We kept on conversing, And we finished all that. We went to the parking lot, and personally, I hate it when a guy opens my doors. I'm sorry. It's like I'm not crippled. No offense. But so he went towards the passenger seat door and he tried opening the door. And I thought that. So I ran instantly and I'm like, I can open my door. And he's like, no, that's not what I want to do. So he hugs me and he's like, I want you in the back seat so bad. And I'm like, mm. And I'm like, nah, we're not going to do that. You're just going to drive me home. And that's it. So he tries to make out with me, and gladly I swooped my way around it. And it was in public as well, so people were passing by, so he couldn't do shit. Excuse me.
It's all right.
So, he was driving on our way home. I was busy on my phone because I didn't want to talk. I was already uncomfortable with the situation.
Yeah.
And his hand was on my thigh. And I just froze. I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, okay. So he starts asking me questions, telling me how he fancies to have kids with a Tanzanian woman. Da, 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 da. I'm like, there are other Tanzanian women in Melbourne. You know, you don't have to have one with me. I don't want to have kids. Not now. And I was busy on my phone. I didn't look ahead, but I felt the car turn, and then it was kind of like making a U-turn somehow. So I had to look up from my phone and look at the environment. Still trying to digest, like, you know, but the environment looked isolated, like an isolated car park, no humans there. Sounds like a dystopian movie, trust, but it was like I felt like if I stepped out of that car and asked for help, no one would hear. So he got me to the back seat, and I told him, look, this is not what I want to do. I'm not going to sleep with you, what's or not. Yes, I came to the back seat. That's stupid. But I want to go home. I'm not even going to describe the rest.
Wow.
And
it's okay not to go. I know it must have been very traumatizing for you. So it's okay not to discuss that.
I mean, it's going back home. It kind of like it pained me. It pained me, and I was also in a panic because I was like, "Am I pregnant or what?" You know?
Wow, so that bad?
Yeah, I was like, "Am I pregnant or what?" So I was panicking, and I also had to call a friend, and I told him about the situation. I'm crying, I'm panicking, I'm going to work, I'm stressed, I'm like tired, baggy eyes, what's or not. And he's like, you have to report him. And I'm like, and then? Report him and then what?
Yeah, I think you should have reported it.
Yeah, but talking to my friend back then, it was like, report him and then what? What happens?
True.
Or what do I gain from it? Apart from keeping him away, but the trust. Is it gonna build back?
No. Yeah. So sorry to hear that. So to say, you talked about trust, and you also talked about your teacher, which I believe must have really, really affected you. So walk me through what really happened with this particular teacher. Did he sexually molest you, or did he, do that to other students?
Molest is a very strong word.
Okay.
So we'd say harass.
Harassed, okay.
Did he do it to other students? I don't know. I don't want to keep in mind that I was the only one. Possibly there could be others. Who knows? How he did it, I'm just going to keep it vague, short. I'm not going to go into details as much. So there are times he would, as usual, come to class, call me up the front, kiss on his cheek, hugs from behind, grind behind me, have me sit on his lap, peck on the lips sometimes.
Wow. And when this happened, you were scared, but you couldn't tell your dad because your dad already had the notion about you possibly may already be sexually active. But
Right.
then, where was mom in this whole picture?
As I've mentioned before, mum was here in Australia
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
studying, and anything to do with medical stuff takes time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I should come back home once in a while, um, maybe twice, thrice a year, or whenever she has time, or whenever whenever she has time, basically. It's not that I never missed her. I do miss my mom, love her dearly, but sometimes you can't stop her from doing so. But in the midst of it all, the same year, Dad told me about the divorce.
Wow. So with all this happening, dad just broke off and told you he was divorcing your mom.
Well, he called me into the office and he was like, okay, me and your mom have divorced, which I was confused. I ain't no guru dictionary whatsoever. I don't know what divorce is. Uh, so I'm just there confused. I'm like, divorced? It's like, as in, we broke up. And that messed me big time. I don't know how to process it. Honestly, all I can remember is leaving the office and it's still ringing in my head, but I'm just living a normal life. The next day came and all I did was tell some of my friends about it. And yeah, I was laughing. I don't know how to process it. Hoping there's someone who maybe has been through the same experience and I could probably grab some advice from them on how to handle the situation. But to make matters worse, I wish I wasn't told what details they were going through, like the arguments that they've had and the court stuff and whatever. I felt like that messed me up even more, which also led to some things happening. I'm not going to open that curtain. And which made me also just lose communication with my father for a week, where I don't call my dad, I call him by his name. And not only do we never talked face to face, it was more of like writing letters, popping it under your door. And it was like, hi, the name, and then you told me I'm not your daughter anymore because of this, of the stuff that happened, da 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 da. Again, I'm not going to talk about what really happened between during that period because I'm not going to I'm protecting my own little sister as well. So it was bad. Hearing words from mom's side of the family and dad's side as well. So it's like trying to keep up with who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth. And it messed me up. And I have a very soft spot. I am a person with a very soft heart. Very. And the things that I care for, it damages me the most if I hear something heartbreaking. So I couldn't focus. Grades started going down. It's just it was a messed up time to a point where moving schools itself, I'd say it wouldn't be a problem moving from school to school, but with the situation going on, having to be moved to one school to another, which means one curriculum to a different one, and having still to kind of get used to the curriculum itself and all this going on. And yet not only are you hated by people from the school that you move into, they bully you as well. And you have to adjust, you have to get used to the fact of being alone, living with your stepmom. You're not getting along with her because of all the words that you're hearing from your mom's side of the family. And your dad here is trying to tell you that it's not like that, da 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 da. So it's a lot to process. Where it also reached when I moved to Kenya, I fell into I don't want to call it depression, but it was a very, very bad state for me mentally. I wasn't performing good. My grades dropped bad. And I remember I I used to have visions, and I still do. Some parts of my life played out. I'm not going to lie. There's some things that happen in my life. Most things I can't control. I've seen them already. They can't be changed. It's set, it's set. You can't blame me for that. It's something that's not in my control. And I remember there's this time where I felt like a rage of anger just building up. Every time anyone would say anything, even the littlest of joke, I just want to end them. And I talked to my stepsister and I'm like, hey, like I'm not feeling too good. I don't know what to do. I'm stressed. I feel angry. I feel like if anyone even talks about the littlest of jokes, I just want to end them. I don't know what to do. And she's like, pray. And I'm like, okay. But I called Dad and I told him the same thing, and he was like, to say, you just have to pray. I get it, you're confused. All this is taking a toll on you, but try not to let whatever's going on between me and your mother affect you. But you can't really say that because it's too late. If you hadn't told me in the beginning about all these little things, the emails, the whatever, the comparison of your mom did this, your dad did this, what, then it wouldn't have been a problem. But the damage is already done. I had a best friend. We keep in contact once in a while now, and he was the only one who kept me company, and I felt comfortable with him. And I remember every day in the morning boarding in because it was an all boarding school, so every morning after breakfast prep class we'd just sit at a gazebo and I'd just cry. Sometimes I'd even, like, that's when I started writing songs as well. And I remember the first song that I wrote was about mom, and I was confused at that point, like, because it was said mom left us, da 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 da. So I was like, why did you leave us, da 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 da, and all that stuff. And I've never shared that song till today, even though I used to take music class and we were taught to compose songs, but it wasn't something that I'd share because I do not want people to see that I'm weak. Even though you see me cry, like, yes, I cry. Just see that I cry over different things, but I'm not going to give you the root of the problems why I'm crying. So days went on, and it reached a point where my mental health was so bad where I almost sliced my classmate's shoe with a razor. A few guys that I was friends with, we joke a lot, but this time, since we used to use padlocks to lock our lockers, and mine was quite this heavy one, I almost threw one at them, aiming for the head. Gladly, he missed. And I remember at that point, I got so scared of myself. I went home. I didn't even enjoy my 15th birthday, mind you. And all I was thinking was to end me.
Wow. So you had suicidal thoughts.
Exactly. Because I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm having a headache. I'm thinking about this. I don't know what to do. Dad's telling me not to think about it. And here I'm getting information about this, about that. And it was just overwhelming. But at the back of my head, I'm like, I have a little sister. I have a little brother. I have another little sister. And I have an older sister. If I leave, what's that going to be like for them? What benefit is it going to give them? What story am I going to leave behind? What reason am I going to give them as to why I've ended myself? Why should I punish them? So I didn't. And that's when I learned how to control my anger by every time anything negative happens to me, I think of the positive side of it.
That's a good thing.
I think of the positive side of it. And I told myself that type of anger is never going to happen again, because I know once I reach that stage, I don't care if you take me to the police. I don't care if I go to jail. I won't regret a thing. So I told myself that's not going to happen. Think of the positive side of each and everything. So it's practice, 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 practice. Also at that point, that's when I also pushed my dad to make sure that I go to mom. So that was also the beginning of me having to come here and live with mom again.
After how many years?
10.
10 years. So did you feel like, being with your mother for like 10 years, did you feel a disconnection from your mom?
It felt like that at some point, because it wasn't, yes, communication with my mom was there. And good thing is that we had access to internet and computers at school, so emailing mom back and forth. But apart from hi mom, how are you doing, it was like, mom, I need 1 2 3 1 2 3, mom, I need 1 2 3 1 2 3, which at some point to me it felt like I'm using my mom.
Yeah, was it like a transactional relationship?
Right. So I was like, mom, can you get me this? So it's only like contact mom when you need something. Contact mom when you need something. But at some point I was like, you know what? I really need to talk to mom. So I got her number and I talked to her and all that. But in the midst of it all, a lot was said, which I'm not going to throw in. So eventually I finished the semester, went home, got taken to my mom's twin so I didn't go to school from like July, August, September, like the whole year, the whole rest of the year. Dad tried to take me back to school, and because I was already brainwashed as well, as in your dad's the bad guy, da 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 da. So when dad came to try to take me back to school, and I'm like, how sure am I that you're not going to keep me where you are?
Wow.
That you're not going to return me here so that I can go to mom, so all that conspired. And I remember even before I left Tanzania, a fight broke out between me and my dad, based on what was said from the other parties. And it really hurt.
So you hated your dad based on what you heard from the other side.
That's what I did not want. I did not want that. Having looked back at it, I wish I never knew any of those information. So I eventually went to my mom around October. Came here, and first stop was Sydney. So I had to stop at my auntie's. We talked about it, brushed it over. Came to my mom. Mom asked what happened between me and my dad, and I was like, I'd like not to talk about it. But now, having said that, that's when everything broke out. You don't trust me, but you can talk stuff to other people, da 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 da. And I was like, you know what? I'm here anyways, so what else can I do? So applied for a school that she took me to. Went to Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, that's in Alice Springs, private school. I did my interview, passed, started school there, and I remember we had this, again, religious education. It's a Catholic school, of course, religion should be there. We were watching this movie called Stormboy, and the storyline behind it, I can't remember how the movie goes, but having watched it, it kind of reminded me something about what happened back home. And I was tearing up, and I sat with the teacher and I told her what was going on, including how at some point I got suicidal. I forgot to mention, I did cut myself once.
Wow.
Yeah. And I showed her the mark as well.
You cut yourself with the intention to die, or?
It was
Was just
just
to
too
release
much to
some pain.
bear, to release the pain. It was just too much to bear. But like at the end of the day, it's you're adding pain on pain. What pleasure does it give you? So I had to vent it out to her. I told her, look, I'm fine. I'm fine. But it just reminded me of 1, 2, 3. Not that any of what I've mentioned would happen again, but I'm just saying because the movie, related to kind of what happened. And this thing went to the school, I remember, and mom was cold. And when I went back home, she called me and she told me to tell her everything. And I did not want to tell mom anything because I don't want her stressing. She's already been through enough. She's fought for us to get there and all that stuff. So I just don't want to stress her with whatever has happened back home. So, yeah, I got caned for it, but we promised that we should be open with each other and all that. So life was good. Year 10, picked my subjects to go into year 11. But also at that point, I'm a very quiet person, friendly, quiet person. And I remember there's this friend of mine. She looked mean. Trust me. Today, if I sit with her, we're usually like, girl, I thought you were that girl, but honestly, you're nice.
Yeah.
And, there was just something about her which in me just didn't sit right. And I have this thing. Yes, I read people. I stopped reading people because at first it creeped her out. And I'm like, well, this is uncomfortable. So I remember I was in religion class and I just looked at her. I just looked at her. And I knew she was going through something. And she was like, what? I didn't tell her anything. I just looked at her. She's like, what? She started having watery eyes. So I asked her if we can go outside. So we asked the teacher if we can do our work outside. So then she told me about it. And I'm like, girl, look, I don't mean to be weird, but I felt something was wrong with you. And I can't let that go. I just have a sense of just reading people just like that if I want to. But I don't want to invest too much time into reading people. I need to start working on myself.
Yourself, yeah.
So,
do you mind me just jumping in quickly with the whole divorce thing with your dad and your mom? What was your experience like, obviously, when you were with dad, or what was the experience like with your uncles or your aunties or your relatives at that point?
from what side? Both sides?
From both sides.
From my dad's side, we were all chill. From my mom's side, during the 10 years, at some point, we cut communication. I didn't know why. Me and my dad and my little sister, we used to have a tradition where we'd visit my mom's sibling every Sunday. They'd have a newborn, we'd go see them, sleepovers sometimes. But then eventually it just stopped. But I didn't know it was because of whatever was going on. And as I was still young and confused, even though dad was trying to tell me, oh, they're not who you think they are, but still, relatives, I miss them, So I came to see their true side when I last went to Tanzania. That was last year. When I went there, I stayed with my mom's twin. And I wanted to stay with my mom's twin because I knew dad didn't know anything about me going back. And not that I went back willingly. Mom made me go back. And I didn't want to argue with her. I'm like, okay, you want me to go back? I'll go. 6 months, as long as I'm back, fine. But I get to the airport and my dad's like, have you arrived? Can I come pick you?
You're like, but I'm not coming to you, Dad.
And I'm like, and then not in a rude way. I'm like, I'm going to Auntie's house. I'm going to stay with her.
Yeah.
But hopefully I might come to you. And he's like, oh, okay. As long as you're safe, that's fine. But communication with my dad over then was like, we're still building, after the last fight that we had in 2019. We were still building. And I went to my auntie, and then my mom's little sister joined. And, there's some events that happened, and that included how I lost my virginity to someone and to whom. I don't mind saying it, honestly. If it'll embarrass me, that's fine. Take it however you want it. This is my story. I slept with a married guy.
Wow.
And yeah, so that cost me a lot. It did.
Was that because you were like in a broken state of mind, or you were in a confused state of mind?
At some point, you're going to lose your
Yeah.
virginity anyways. It didn't matter.
Thank God I'm a virgin. I'm a virgin.
That's what they all say.
That's what they all say.
That's what they all say.
Until you open it, you say, what? You say you're a virgin? What is that?
Anyway, so that happened, and it cost me a lot. So now it's like plus some stuff on top. I'm not gonna go into details, but like yeah. So she was like, okay, tell your auntie what you've done. So every auntie that comes, I have to give them information, which to me just didn't sit right, because I'm like, okay, if this is embarrassing for you guys, and it is embarrassing to me as well, because I slept with someone's husband. I thought he had a girlfriend. And from the looks of how their relationship was, it didn't look as if
You were married.
Not married. It didn't look as if they were stable. So I'm like, okay, maybe part-time girlfriend or something. Not that I was trying to make myself exclusive, what's or not. But yeah, it was like, okay, tell them what happened. To an extent, where it brought a whole meeting with my mom's siblings. Tell them whatever you've posted, your uncles also have it. And I'm like, okay, if this is embarrassing to you guys, then why would you also share it with my uncles? I mean, they're your husbands. We're not blood related. They're your husbands. Why would you share it with them? Why do they have it anyways? Not that it's any inappropriate picture. I mean, a picture in a one-piece swimsuit that doesn't show bum or whatever. But why would you share it if you think that's inappropriate?
Wow. So you felt betrayal from your mom's family?
Betrayal?
Well,
Nah,
what's
it's
the
what
word?
they do.
Okay.
No offense, I'm sorry. But, I mean, it's something that they do. I mean, for me to post such picture, it took a lot of guts. And I did not post it for people to see, look at how my body is, or my body is tea. I post stuff
For yourself.
for me. I don't post it for anyone out there. If you think any of my posts relates to you, that's a you problem, not mine. Your issue is out of my hand. I'm just doing it for me. I'm entertaining myself. I'm not entertaining you guys. You guys view it. If you feel entertained, that's up to you. You want to take a screenshot, take it. Whatever you do is none of my business, because it's already in your phone.
That's true.
Or because I don't control you.
Well, can we just quickly run through one thing, because I know we spent an amount of time just talking, which I really appreciate, because the information has been amazing. But did your dad remarry, or did your mom remarry?
Mom's not remarried. Her love life, I don't know. I know she's not remarried. Neither is she dating. Unless she's seeing someone, which... Anyways, we're not really open to each other about that, since we have constant fights. Dad is remarried. 10 years now.
Wow, he's been with the same one woman 10 years.
10 years. 10 years.
Does he have kids by that woman?
One young brother.
One young brother. And how's your relationship with the boy?
It's good. We just... those type of people where you just... Talking on phone, it's just... But like when you're in person, then it's like all the hype is there. So that's the type of relationship that I share with him.
And the woman that your dad married, what's the relationship with her?
We're getting there.
Was she nice to you? Or?
She was nice, but due to whatever I was going through in between the divorce, because she took care of me from 2014 to part of 2014 till 2019. But because of the words and all that was being thrown at, so it kind of ruined our relationship and brought a lot of misunderstanding between us. But I'm glad that she's an understanding lady and she's a very good mother. I'm not saying my mom is a bad mother. Both of them are good mothers. But I appreciate her for taking care of us. I appreciate her for her patience. I don't like the way we left off things, even though our communication these days, me talking to her sometimes, I feel a little bit scared, but I really want to build a connection with her, out of the respect, like, even whether she treated me bad or not, she's still my mom. She's still my dad's wife.
Yeah.
Same applies to my mom. So I hold no grudges.
Awesome. So, to say, just a quick one before we round up. What do you advise kids who their parents are going through a divorce, and possibly hearing bad things about dad or bad things about mom? What do you advise those children?
I don't want to categorize my advice. I would just put it out there in general. For anyone who has been or is going through such situations, what helped me for the long run, though late, sometimes just live your life. Living your life helps a lot. Plan out what you want to do. Set your standards. Know who you are. Because at the end of the day, the fight that happens between those two individuals is between them.
Not the children.
Not you. Unless you have done something to actually trigger them to split. But as long as you're not in it and you stand your ground, you have every right to choose who you want to stay with. But I'd just advise you, live your life. Learn, I'd say, take that time to know who you are. Take that time to study yourself. Take that time to actually just, even though you live under that household, look at the pros and cons and see how you want your life to be. That would help you a lot. Don't mingle yourself within those fights, because once you mingle yourself within that fight, it's going to damage you a lot. And pray a lot, because not only is this divorce thing something that happens in the world that we live in now, but it also goes spiritually. It affects people spiritually a lot, and a lot of people just don't tend to see that. So pray for yourself, pray for your family, pray for those who are around you, and always remember, at this stage, you're always going to be isolated. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to let out any emotions you have. Just know that God is doing something for you in the long run. He's building something. He's building you. So take that time to just regenerate and let God do His work through you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I never knew you were a bishop. Bishop Tuse. That was a beautiful podcast. This discussion was amazing.
Yeah.
I even, gathered a lot of strength in I know that many viewers who have watched today's podcast will be like, yes, this is what they wanted to hear. So we want to really thank you so much for coming on the Cornerstone Podcast.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to put Tuse's social media handle on the comment section. You can reach out to her Instagram, her Facebook account, and you can connect with her, and then maybe share your thoughts, because Tuse is writing a book. We didn't even touch about that book.
We didn't.
Let's just give it a brief. What is the book about?
So the book is called what was it called? What is it called? The Weight of Her Silence.
The weight. What?
The Weight of Her Silence.
The weight of her silence.
Her silence.
Wow.
Yes. This book touches about my life, but I'm not writing it from my perspective. Let's say I'm writing it from your perspective.
Yeah.
So you're living my life.
Okay.
But at the end of the book, that's when I tell the audience,
I'm the one
I'm the one who's going through all of this. So in that book, you're literally going to read and see a lot of things that haven't been mentioned here, and things that I can't really say, because the things that I want to say, but it's like I'm being held back, and the only way I can express it is through writing. So you'll get every little thing from there, and I hope it touches each and everyone. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you're from. This applies to everyone, whether you're from an African community or the okay, this might sound racist, but everyone. So I just want to empower you guys. It's not for youths only. This also applies to adults to see that you guys deserve to also create a healthy space for your younglings. They deserve to have a healthy home. They deserve to enjoy their childhood. I haven't enjoyed my childhood as much. I can't remember things that have happened during my past because they've said that, and I repeat this again, your brain goes into survival mode once you're going through a tough time, which pushes out memories from before, and you only remain with the memories of the tough times that you've been through. Things from before, what you remember is very, very slim. So just make sure that your kids enjoy their childhood. Make sure they enjoy their adulthood. Teach them the right ways of life. Don't bring in any toxicity in their life because this world is just scary. My life itself, if I give someone else to put on my shoes, they wouldn't be where I am today. So be strong, pray, build connections, respect each other, build healthy connections with your kids, families. No funny stuff, guys. Life's too short to do any of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tuse.
You're
What an
welcome.
amazing episode today. So, guys, please don't forget to share this video. Share this video to as much people as you know. This is a very beautiful, beautiful discussion that I just had with Tuse. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all social media handles. And don't forget our Spotify page and as well as our Apple podcast at the Cornerstone Podcast. And it's just an amazing time. Thank you. Have a beautiful night. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Tuse. Thank you. Thank you.